Hello again, and welcome to Faith, Family, and Politics. I'm your host, Joshua Cummins.
We're going to have a really big show today.
That's our good friend, Louis Rodriguez, here in studio with us. Woo! Where's the cheers? Come on. Sound guys are missing out tonight. Come on, Austin. I'm going to call you out by name.
You didn't get to sleep the last night?
He's running late. He's just shaking his head like, I missed it.
Moving past.
Yeah. Well, I said that's our, did you find it?
He's still looking.
I feel it.
He's lost.
Find it.
He's wandering around the room. Okay, well, I'll say Louis' name again here later in the show, and we'll get him some cheers. Remember where it's at. Can you do that for me? There you go, Louis.
He found it.
There's two people.
Thank you, two people. All right. So across from
It's our studio audience.
across from him this week, you might know him and love him. Our perfect producer and one of the guys from Workout with Jesus dudes.
Yep, that's me.
Sterling Metcalf Allen. The audio listeners, they don't.
I saw.
Hi.
I kind of saw the show.
so sore.
You guys cheated on the lifting.
We cheated?
Yes.
Oh,
Didn't do too
okay.
many of that.
Didn't do too many. Did you count?
Cadron give up on it.
As we so often do, yes.
No, they're working on a specific regimen that they're doing.
We are.
I think we can probably get into that into the family portion
Sure.
a little bit. Yeah. And then next to him this week we have she actually works with Revolver Broadcasting now, Miss Yvonne Metcalf Allen. Metcalf, sorry.
Hello.
I'm so used to saying your last name together. I apologize. I'll snip that. Okay, so
I mean, we're family, I guess.
yeah.
Right.
So Yvonne Metcalf and
I think I put two and two together on that.
I even thought about that earlier today, you know.
That's okay. I call you
Like
Crumb
ball
Ryan
molded.
over and over.
Oh, I
again.
know. You did.
Over and over again.
We make mistakes.
We do.
Life is full of them. So now that you've forgiven me, right, Yvonne? Right? Maybe? I got the stare. I don't know. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. So I understand that you have a title for us this week.
Yes. Be fruitful or sowing and reaping. Be fruitful or sowing and reaping.
So what we got one or the other?
Farming. Yeah. Yes.
So which one would you like to go with? Let's see.
Well, it's all tied together.
So
You'll understand.
So it needs the everything as a whole.
It's a blanket. Yes.
Okay.
Is it a warm blanket, though?
Absolutely.
All right.
Could be
Indiana,
electric.
it's cold. It's
I'm down.
a warm blanket.
All right. I like it. So you want to lead us in prayer?
Sure.
It's just a little unsure.
Oh, God, help us. No. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this time. We thank you for this podcast. We thank you that we live in America and we're free and we can do this. I pray that you would bless our time together. I pray that it would be helpful, be pleasing to you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Alrighty. So that's what I came up with for this when I was thinking about doing this. I'm going to start with the verse. It's Galatians 5:22. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. So let me give you a background on this. I was talking to a student the other day. She's a senior, and she's trying to decide what to do with her life. And she said, I don't know what career I'm going to do. I don't know where I'm going to school. I don't know who I'm going to marry. And I told her something that I had been thinking about for some time, probably for about the past year or so. I said, you need to worry about who you are, not what you are doing. In other words, your character or your actions in any life situation you find yourself in. And the reason I said that is that I had worried about that myself. And so, you get lost in the details, what job, what purpose, what cause, what ministry. And my pastor actually gave me good advice and said it doesn't really matter where you work as long as you're doing God's will. So my question is, what is God's will then? So that's my question for you. What comes to mind when you think about God's will? Sterling?
Spread the gospel. Save as many as you can.
Okay, that's a good answer. What about you?
I mean, I'm fully on board with that for sure. Yeah, I mean, getting out there, letting people know about him,
Okay.
spreading his word
Okay. What about
like butter.
What about you, Louis?
Stop sinning. Be good to your wife. Be good to him.
Right.
Always think about God.
Right. Because it's not always an opportunity to witness. There's other things that we can do to grow in Christ, in the Holy Spirit. So it's really just in the moment being who you're supposed to be and let your reactions and your actions be what he would want you to do. And that's harder than it sounds. So anyway, my answer was it was to be more like Jesus. So that's a little general too. So what does that mean?
That means it's going to be hard to be like Jesus.
Die to self.
Okay.
Yeah. So set aside.
Your thought.
Yeah. Set aside your way, and
Go his way.
go his way. Yeah.
Right. I put down to be obedient to God and to be fruitful. And so what does that mean, to be fruitful?
Oh, I was very fruitful. I had plenty of kids, 10 of
He's
them.
talking about multiplying.
Be fruitful and multiply.
That's the
I
second
did
part. I
think
mean,
that.
I think it's
thought.
around the same thing.
Right. Okay. And that is in the Bible. But what else do you think about when you think about being fruitful?
Being fruitful. What does it say? It says we'll know them by their works, right? So by the fruit
by
that you
their
bear.
fruits.
I think it has to do with. I mean, exactly. Well, I think what Sterling said is exactly what we're doing here. Really, I think. I mean, trying to reach people, trying to. I guess that's going in his way as best we can anyway, for the best way that we know how.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. And so, you know what, though? I automatically start with my list of do's and don'ts. Do, go to church, read your Bible, pray, witness. And then my don'ts: smoke, cuss, drink, overeat. But it is really deeper than that, and that's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
That's what Fruitful is about. He's working on the inside with the Holy Spirit to produce fruit in our life. And so that's what Galatians chapter 5 is about. And we had a young man give a message one time in one of our Sunday school classes, and he was talking about this, and he said, actually, every one of the fruits of the Spirit is a oh, I can't think of the word now. It's a
Spiritual gift.
no. It's an expression of love. That's
Okay.
Okay, so joy. So, of course, the fruit of the Spirit is love. Love everyone. The Bible tells us we're supposed to love the Lord our God with all our heart, all our soul, all our mind. And the second is like that: love your neighbor as yourself. And so the second one is joy. And so that's just love, rejoicing. And the third one is peace, love, trusting, and calm. How trusting and calm are we sometimes? Long suffering. Love is love forbearing. Gentleness is love caring and sharing. Goodness is love upright and pure. Faith, love unfailing. Meekness, love submitting. Temperance, love under control. And so those are the things. There's other stuff, like you said, we want to do in our flesh. We want to be selfish. We want to be mean. And there's a whole list of things actually in Galatians 5 that talks about the works of the flesh, but that's not what we want to do. And so when you plant something, let me switch gears for a minute, you expect it to grow. I have a daughter who has a garden, and she plants all kinds of things: flowers, fruits, vegetables. She's got a whole 9 yards there. And when she puts the seed in the ground and this little miracle happens, with enough sunshine and water and care, it grows. And before you know it, you put in one seed and you get 12 corn stalks? So you put in one seed and you get this, you get this harvest. And so the point is that that's the law of sowing and reaping. And the Bible also talks about that. Because we can sow good seed or bad seed in our life, but what kind of crop do we want to get? So, 2 Corinthians 9:6 says, "He that sows sparingly shall reap sparingly, and he that sows bountifully shall reap bountifully." So the point is, I want to sow seed so that the fruit I get is the fruit of the Spirit and not the works of the flesh. So I have to make the right choices, and if I don't, which I don't sometimes, I can still redeem that with the next choice being a good choice. So that's pretty much my message for today, is just that we need to be fruitful in the Spirit. And there's some comforting words also in Lamentations that tells us his mercies are new every morning. So if you didn't plant good seed last night or yesterday, then tomorrow morning is a new day, and you can plant good seed tomorrow. So that was my thought for this week.
We're still over there in the producer's booth. I see some, like, they were looking at us like, I was like, uh-oh. We had some hiccups last week, so I was making sure that we're still good.
No.
No hiccups.
Yeah.
So you have any thoughts on that, or,
Well, I can tell you this. You hand a plant to my mom, and she's sure to kill it.
Some people just don't have a green thumb.
not that good.
that's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Aloe plants, they're pretty hardy, and yeah, she killed it pretty quickly. Her only aloe plant she had.
Murdered it.
Yeah.
I killed a cactus, so I'm pretty bad at that too.
Yeah. So thank goodness that we can sow seeds different ways, right? Spiritually speaking, we can
Right.
get out there
I
and
think actually
make those
it's
plants
God,
grow.
maybe God sowing the seeds in our heart, and it just grows that way.
Well, I was talking about like when we go out in the Spirit, we're doing when He sends us out as His vessels, and then we talk to somebody and we tell them about Him, then that seed gets planted there. So yeah, I think it's kind of both.
That's another way to look at it, right? And I thought about that as I was talking about this, because I think of that most of the time. Be fruitful. You're talking about reproducing Christianity, other Christians around you.
Faith like a mustard seed, right?
Right.
Mountains.
That's it. That's my grandmother's
Giant
favorite.
tree.
My dad's mom. She always has a bunch of little bags with mustard seeds in them in her purse, and she hands them out, and it's got the little I think it's prayer Jabez's clip to them. But she hands them out and says, "Hey, here you go. Faith like a mustard seed," and she hands them out. So yeah.
Seeds of faith. That was one of them. But
You go ahead.
I was going to say those are the things that we're supposed to be focused on.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we lose our focus.
Yeah, it's really easy to lose your focus. I mean, with the speed of today, I mean, my goodness. I mean, like with electronics in particular, every 18 months, technology has taken another step forward. So by the time you get the new thing, and you get it for a little while and you've gotten used to it, the next new thing is already out, and you're going, well, but I just got used to this one.
Exactly.
And I hear pretty soon that technology is going to move even faster, and I'm like, wait, it's going to move faster than 18 months at a time. So yeah.
Is it that way when you read the Bible? Does it always change?
No, I think God stays the same. I mean, personally, I think it's what.
Yeah, he stays the same, but he might show you something different.
Yeah, that's true. Because every time, that's what I talked about with Romans 8, where, I had read it many times, but until that 1 week, I opened it up and went, whoa, it just meant more.
Yeah, it's your where you're at in your spiritual walk, whether you're ready to have that revealed to you or not.
Let's talk about like milk drinking and meat eating. And for those who don't know those terms, it's like just like when you're an infant and you would drink milk. So you're new to the faith. You're kind of getting into the Bible for the first time.
So you need the basics.
Yeah, the fundamentals essentially. Yeah, and then once you work your way up, maybe you start chewing on a few carrots and stuff, and then maybe we'll get a little bit of stewed peas, or what do you call them? Where they're cream peas.
Oh.
And he said nope.
We'll just skip right over that one.
Yeah. But I'm just saying steps towards solid foods, right? Steps towards solid foods, and then you're a meat eater. and you're able to recite scripture. You're able to teach people about the Lord.
Dig a little deeper.
Yeah, and dig a little deeper. And it's good to get into like a small group or you know, hey, if you want to be on this show and you're not too far from Beech Grove, you might want to, you know, look into hitting us up, info@revolverbroadcasting.com, info@revolverbroadcasting.com. Just want to let you know that. It's a secure way to message us.
It's been dropped.
Oh, and make sure that you're hitting that like
Subscribe button.
that subscribe button, the like button, the share button, the bell that notifies you when we're on. So,
We're on right now.
that way you can see everything that's new. So
all
yeah,
the shows.
all the shows. Because we have 6 now, 6 shows. So yeah, that's why I didn't go to the rundown at the top, because I was like, we got 6 shows now. It's
Spend the whole show just reciting how many shows we have.
yeah.
Right.
When
Yeah,
we,
so I thought there was, I was going to just take a detour again for a minute, but the
Yeah,
end of
absolutely.
that verse says, against such there is no law. And
Yeah.
that really hit me one year. I'm like, you know what? I can't find any laws against that, against love, against peace, against joy. There are no laws against that, literally.
Don't talk to the Democrats about that.
Right? Don't want to give them ideas.
It'd be kind of that's what I never understood is what part of what they are promoting so much of is those things. It's just very left-sided that they're promoting. Like they want to promote peace, they want everybody to accept everything. You know, they want to promote love, and they let everybody love whoever they want to love. So it's like,
I think if to be fair,
yep,
and this is devil's advocate for a second.
sure,
I think a lot of I'd say more level-headed or free-thinking people that still claim Democrat as their ticket, they're probably coming from a place of empathy. I don't think they're probably they're not evil people, but they just probably a little misguided, but also they just maybe they don't believe in God or whatever, and that does take away some of the moral clay that we get, a foundation that we get from having those 66 books of truth.
Sense
Absolutely,
of right
yeah.
and wrong.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that's what this country was founded on, was those Judeo-Christian values. And when we have a basis of Judeo-Christian values, it allows you to build upon that, you know, the moral values that goes out into the world. I think that would be God's will right there, is just taking those values out into the world and you're living it. You're not just telling people about it, you're living it, right?
Right, exactly.
So yeah, I think
I was going to say the devil always has a counterfeit, so that sort of sounded like a counterfeit when you start talking about that kind of thing, when you're talking about peace, but you're not the peace that God said, or Jesus said, didn't he say that you could find peace in the world, but not the peace that I give you? So it's a different kind of thing.
yeah.
And actually we had a message about that too, the difference between peacemakers and peacekeepers. Because a peacekeeper is somebody that wants peace at any cost. And
It's just not close enough to
and
you.
a peacemaker is someone who, when there's something wrong, strives to make peace with someone else. So say you did something wrong, and I had to address that with you, and I said, Josh, this is not the right way. And I'm not being mean about it, and I'm not being judgmental, but I'm just addressing it with you so that we can come to an agreement and say, you know what, that's wrong, according to God's word. And so then we go forward from there and we have peace.
Yeah.
That's a different thing than saying, oh, well, it's okay, you know, we'll just let it slide because it's Josh and it's all right.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do that.
no, we
You're
never
not really supposed to do that.
we never let it slide with Josh. I mean,
Sterling never lets it slide.
Right.
We went to a networking event just yesterday, and I swear every 3 seconds he was like, actually. I was like, okay, all right. I know he's doing it in love, but I'm a little annoyed.
I won't be invited back. I understand.
You're always invited, Sterling. And I say that with love. I mean,
Speaking of the devil, he definitely does like to counterfeit everything, like you're saying. He tries to do the exact same thing, same system that God has. He tries to make it his own way. It's just extremely skewed.
Yeah.
extremely skewed and usually backwards.
Not based in fact.
Yeah, it's completely backwards.
It's usually about self,
Right.
right? And I think that's
about
what
pleasing yourself.
Yep.
yeah, that's where when we talk about the Democrats and coming from a place of empathy, they're unfortunately coming from a place of empathy that's all about self, right?
That's what's pushed so much.
That's why they say, well, love is love. Well, because that person decided it was love.
Because that's what you wanted?
Yeah. So
Or is that what's good for everyone?
Yeah. And so once again, that becomes more about self and not what God wants.
Right.
So I think, I see it in popular music all the time. Everything is about self. How much riches do I have? How many, for the men, they tell them, how many girlfriends have you had in the past week or two? And for the ladies, how many men have you just brushed off after, using them? And whether it be financially or otherwise, and the world is crazy, but it's all about self. They've strayed away from God, and they said, let's do. They say that they're God now. That's what they think. They think that they are God.
Sounds like somebody.
I wonder who.
The first one that ever did that.
Yeah, and they've been strayed that way. They've been taught that. Our media, or turn on television, it blares it in their face. Be about self.
It's a huge push, yeah.
Yeah.
Self-gratification, instant gratification too.
Yeah.
That's like God, he made man, he made woman, but the Democrats came out with all this gender stuff. Why are they changing stuff around, And they praise on money. And money ain't going to buy everything, ain't going to buy you love, ain't going to buy you to have a heart or be with God.
It's not going to buy you peace either.
No.
That's something the Beatles
None
got
of
right.
the
Can't buy me
things
love.
that matter. Right?
The way that I look at it is going back to, once again, Satan, or just the opposing side. We'll just call it the opposing side.
Mm-hmm.
Is to try to break down each and every structure that God has set up. So family, that's a huge one. That one's has been under attack for a long time, and it is just falling more and more and more ways. Like man and woman, okay, divorces, okay. Now it's like man can be with whoever he wants to, woman can be whoever he wants to. Okay, they don't even get married anymore. Forget that. We don't even want to fight for that. And then let's just change who we are entirely. We're not even man or woman. We're just whatever we want to be.
Interchangeable. Yeah, that's what they no. There's no longer. I mean, they still say male and female on a lot of stuff, but it doesn't matter anymore to these the people. When I say these people, I don't because I mean, there are just people out there that believe it for whatever reason. They're this small sliver of society that believes this because they've been forced into it, and they just go right into the stable like sheep and go, yes, this is the way it's supposed to be. And men and women are interchangeable. And then, what are their roles anymore? Because it stops being about the woman being the caretaker and the things that they do, and then the men being the protector and the providers. Yeah, we've went away from that.
Yeah,
and that's something that's really put us in trouble, not only in this country but in other places all around the world.
Yeah. I mean, it's snowballing down. Now they're like going after the kids. They're going after your children. So it's like you're destroying it, which once again is a biblical thing because you're supposed to teach, teach your kids while they're young and the way in which they should go. Or
when you're walking, when you're sitting down, when you're standing up, whatever you're doing, as you're living life, you're supposed to be teaching your children the values that you believe in.
Yeah, so if they're doing that when they're young, they're learning that from the get-go, the wrong thing from the get-go. That's the world that we're headed to.
Well, I think they learned that from Hitler. He was the one that used to put kids in school to learn his way of ruling the world and becoming
indoctrination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now Democrats are trying to do the same thing. They're trying to convince our kids that their way is the right way and other ways are the wrong ways. And
unfortunately, it's not just Democrats. There are some, we talk about rhinos, plenty on this show, but I think it's, there's a lot of politicians, I call them, elitists, that when they talk about what they want for the world to have. Like there's something called the World Economic Forum. If you have access to, I mean, you know what I'm talking about, Sterling? If you have access to the internet, look up World Economic Forum. These are the people pulling the strings on these politicians. When Trump talked about establishment, he wasn't, and then he was talking about, you know, this, and people say the word deep state all the time, these terms for it. These are the people pulling the strings behind the scenes. The politicians you see on the TV, they're just mouthpieces. That's all they are. They're getting paid. Why do you think that they get, they're worth so much more than what their salary is by the time they get out of office? It's not because with the exception of Nancy Pelosi making insider trading potentially, when they come out of office, they're worth so much more because they're accepting essentially bribes, and they do it their entire career, and they go after the things that they know are going to ruin your families. Yeah, it's based in selfishness, like you said, and I've just finished a course on the Federalist Papers and talking about how, man is basically has a sinful nature, and so in order to guard against that, you have to have checks and balances in your government. Yeah. And so that's why our government was set up the way that it was. Yep. And so we could battle that because it's a given that people are going to want to be selfish. So how do you combat that when you're trying to govern yourself? And so they put checks and balances against that so that they would work against each other, so they would have balance, so they could, I don't remember who said it, but somebody said that you have to be a moral people to have a self-government, or it will fail. And so you have to have that moral guide. Yep. Those Judeo-Christian values that everything was built on, right? Exactly, yes. And you'd like to see that. I think something that would fix that. And that sense of right and wrong. The sense of right and wrong, and also something that would help with that is our term limits, the refreshing of those people that are serving in the government. Mm-hmm. But also reminding them, and I've said this before, reminding them that they're representatives. That's what they are. We tell you what to do, not the other way around. They don't just they get up on Capitol Hill and we're like, well, I wrote this bill and for my constituents. Did you ask them? Right? Like, I know that they elected you. There's actually two checks on that, right? Because there's also the Constitution, and that's why everything is supposed to be constitutional. Yeah. So if it doesn't line up with that, or if it doesn't line up with what your constituents want, who you are representing, then that's your two checks. Then it should not be. And that's the way it should be. But unfortunately, it should be voted out. Yeah, should be voted out, primaried. But also, what happens is a lot of times, because of all the things that have been forced on society, on like the devil has gotten this chokehold on telling people about self. They don't even look at what's going on in Washington. They don't pay attention at all. They just live their lives, and that's fine if you want to live your life apolitical. I'm absolutely fine with that. But understand there are consequences to good men doing nothing. Yep. It is your choice. You have the freedom and the right to do so. This is America. But know that when good men or women, when they do nothing, evil's still happening. You need to be able to stand up. You need to be able to do something. You actually need to take responsibility. Yes. Because there is some responsibility in that. If we are the leaders and they are supposed to be listening to us, we need to be communicating to them exactly what we want. Make those phone calls to your local politicians. Know who your city council people are.
The problem with that is that people are scared to do anything because they're afraid of the government. They think if they speak up or they say anything, the government is going to come after them. And it's not right. You should be able to speak up, say what you have to say to bring out your voice so they can listen. Because if you're not going to tell them what you feel and what's right, they're not going to listen to you, and they're going to keep going their way.
Yeah, and that's what you do in that case, Louis? You organize a group of friends and family or faith family and politics. We're on your side, and we'll flood whoever it is with phone calls, and we'll make sure that they know that if they need to be doing their job, they need to be doing it right. Yeah. Once again, you can hit us up at info@revolverbroadcasting.com if you want to get. We will be on your side. I'm telling you, we will be on your team. If you're doing the right thing, and
As long as it aligns biblically, you know.
yeah, we got 66 books of truth that's telling us how to live our lives and what's right and wrong,
Right.
and how to
For example, Todd Young slipping over with the Democrats to pass the marriage bill,
yeah,
the defense of marriage bill.
yeah.
So
It's unfortunate.
it is unfortunate.
Unfortunate.
And it's not what his constituents would want.
Not in the least. And it's interesting. Like I said, that they're not being held accountable, and we need people to speak up. Yes, Louis.
You could always say that you're Catholic or you're a Protestant, but you got to preach that and follow that rule, and not say it and not go through it. You know, because I could say I'm a Catholic, but yet I'm over here sinning. Yeah. I'm over here telling you what to do.
Like Biden.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he is a blatant example of what you just said. Because he claims to be Catholic, but then he goes out and says, "Oh well, but abortion's cool," and you're like, actually, if you're going
Actually, no.
He's picking and choosing what he wants.
and that's not God's way. That's not living it. That's not being fruitful.
Right, exactly. Not the fruit of the Spirit.
I've watched a few different shows of good examples of men being fruitful. I think, gosh darn it, think of his name, Phil Robertson. He has a show called Unashamed. He was the father on Duck Dynasty. If you guys remember that show,
Right.
Did you watch Duck Dynasty, Lou?
Yeah.
Of course.
So yeah.
Why do you say that?
It just makes sense. It just makes sense that Louis watched.
Well, it was a great family show, but something that he wanted to do at the end of every episode that he talked with his family about was, we're going to end these episodes with prayer. Every episode, if you go back and watch, they had a family dinner set up. Whether they were actually going to eat it or not, that was up to debate, because I know everything was scripted up to that point. But that family prayer, that was real, and that was what Phil instituted. I think that was showing the world, that was sowing these seeds, that was putting it out there that he was living it, and he
making a difference, right?
Yeah.
That's
Openly.
the example. Yeah.
Openly, yeah. And he was always, throughout, anytime they spoke to him, he would always be pointing back to God in one way or another. And in his podcast Unashamed, they talk about the Bible in depth, and it's a really in-depth Bible study. They have a kind of a setup like we do, and the fact that they do family stories and stuff like that, little adventures that they have off to the side, but they usually relate it right back into the Bible. Yeah. So people like that, I would aspire to be, and get out there and live it, and show people exactly, what they need to be doing, and
Or at least trying to point him in the right direction.
yeah. And take home a few ducks on the way. Yeah.
Planting those seeds.
I don't know how you feel about that, Sterling.
Which one? Which part of that?
Well, take home a few ducks, you know.
I can take some ducks home, I guess. I don't know where I'd put them.
Well, they're food.
Or they're not alive anymore?
No.
I would rather them be alive. I don't know how to cook duck.
You don't?
No, do you know how to cook duck?
There's
cooking a
YouTube and
turkey.
Nobody
Talk to
watches
Phil
YouTube.
Robertson.
Right. Did you hear that, Susan? Well, he said that nobody watches YouTube.
Everyone's always saying, "Oh, go to YouTube. What, you figure out how to do everything." It doesn't work for me. I need someone to come over and show me how to do it.
Okay, I can. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'll show you how
I'm
to
cool.
operate the keyboard.
Yeah, work some ducks.
Right, Lou? What do you think about a little bit of that duck hunting? You think you can get out there and do some of it?
Oh, yeah. I like to hang out with the Duck Dynasty. Shoot a few ducks.
Yeah.
Have them cook it.
Have them cook it?
I'm not the only one.
Do you know how to dress a bird?
Put a tuxedo on it?
That's what they call it when you
No, I don't.
When you cook it.
Yeah, when you prepare them for cooking. Yeah.
I know.
I don't even know how to cook.
Oh, there you go.
I was making sure.
What is that as normal?
Yeah, we
then?
just came
Normal
out of
will.
turkey season, folks. We could do duck if we needed to.
Yeah, well, it's turkeys or turkey season, yes, right now. But we'll roll around to duck season as the new year comes. It's always in the coldest, most desolate time of the year.
Shaking.
Nice big butterball.
Well, we talk about working out spiritually and trying to get the word out, and I know Sterling knows where I'm going with this, but we also when we talk about working out the body, right? And Sterling's got this new show here on Revolver Broadcasting called "Workout with Jesus Dudes." You want to talk a little bit about that, Sterling, and how you
WJD?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, it was just an idea that I've had for a while. Cameron and I had started months ago and then fell out of it. And then we were talking about shows and what I was going to do. And I was like, you know what? We do this every day, or try to do this every day. Like, might as well just film the journey, because a lot of people don't film the journey of the process. They film the, hey, look at what I've done. Here's what look at me. Ooh, you know. So I was like, well, I don't really like this. Let's change it up. Let's see if we can't find a better way. So what we do is we go in, we do a ridiculous regiment, almost said regime again, regiment, where we do 100 reps straight of a weight.
Yeah.
But while we're doing that, we try to integrate a biblical story or a family story or something we can just talk about while doing it. And then at the very end, we exit out with prayer as well.
Nice.
So it's about 20 minutes on average.
Yeah.
So you're working out physically and spiritually at
Right.
the same time.
Yeah, like our little theme, mantra. That's good. Stay on that stuff. Appreciate it, though. Just throw them up next time. I might catch it. It says, you work at the body, it profiteth little. But if you strive to be more like God, it profiteth a lot. So why not do both? Even if there's a little bit of profit in it, might as well do it. So that's our goal. Yeah.
I got to join him I'm joined him on one excursion so far.
You have, yes.
But I was sore. So like
100 reps.
I did higher weights, lower reps. But it's been a long time since I've been in the gym. And so when I went through and I started working, as we're heading home, each heading to our respective houses, which is 2 doors down from each other, by the way.
That's true.
But we're just on different schedules. So, as we're heading home, Sterling yells out, "You're going to be feeling that tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Tomorrow?" I'm feeling it right now.
Day two is the worst.
I was like, I know how Louis feels now.
Day 2 is a killer. Yeah.
So and it wasn't day 2 actually didn't hurt me all that bad. I was feeling pretty decent on day 2. But then day 3, I woke up and right here between my shoulder blades right here, boy.
No pain, no gain.
Yeah, really.
Yep.
So, by the time Thursday came, I was like, maybe. Right. And then it's lack of sleep and, so.
Yeah, we try to do it. We try to rotate off and on. So Cameron will either work out and then I'll be filming, or I'll be working out and he'll be filming, but they'll give us a day of rest in between. But we both did it the other day. Yeah, that was rough.
I'll keep trying to join you guys as much as I can, but
if anybody else wants to join us too, we've had a couple people ask when we were at that mixer. There was a gentleman, I can't remember what his name was, but he thought, I'm in he lives nearby.
Well, he can comment, right? Because he's watching this show too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He said he might have actually even seen us there, because he goes and usually gets there at like 7:30, and we're walking out about that time. So.
Oh yeah, certainly. Yeah. So then definitely he needs to.
If you wanna join us in this journey of owness, yeah, please do.
Yeah, owness, right?
Owness,
yeah. There's a lot of soreness. Yeah. I was finally recovering today. I was like, yeah, maybe, yeah, today for sure. But then, yeah,
it gets
just
easier.
too busy.
It just gets harder as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've been through a regimen before.
Yeah, regimen.
Got to remember that's not regime, right?
Regimen, yeah.
I've been through quite a few regimens before, and got into pretty decent shape. Louis was around when I slimmed down pretty good there for a while.
That's when he was in B&B.
Yeah, license branch. Yeah,
Gotcha.
and but you see, a little bit of candy here and a little bit of you get relaxed. I think you get complacent and you start falling back into old habits.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like your spiritual life sometimes,
You're not disciplined.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was during that time, But then
But
Once
then
you saw the
you,
piece of candy, then
Yeah.
but you don't stay
it's al-
disciplined.
yeah, well, I was disciplined at the time, but then it was those little bitty things, right? It's the way the devil works, right?
it's a slow
Right.
fade.
It's a slow
fade.
it's a slow fade.
It's
That's right.
not always.
song or
It's
something?
not
It is
always
indeed.
bad.
Yep.
It's a lot of times he had a lot of things to do. You
You
have
get
family.
distracted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have family to
Life
take care of.
Busy,
you
yeah.
work. You know, sometimes it stops you from doing.
It's not
things.
on
Sure does.
purpose.
No.
I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
we ever on purpose say, oh, well, now I'm going to quit doing this so I won't be in shape. It's just those things that just distract us, catch our attention, and get us off track.
I mean, I was going through it. There's been a couple different times in my life where I was really doing good. I was really well disciplined with my food. I was doing this thing that it's out there called meal prep, where I get all my meals ready like for the whole week
I
on a
have seen
Sunday,
that. Mhm.
and it was because my everything was planned out, and drove my wife nuts because she was like, I just want to eat different things. And I'm like, but I have to stay on this. And she's like, it's so boring. And I was like, boring is good because boring is healthy. And but it is good to live your life a little bit. But you have to find that balance, right? The discipline and the balance, kind of like what
Everything
the government
in
should be.
moderation, right?
Yeah, yeah. A couple cheeseburgers may not hurt you every now and then, but you don't want to be doing them, 3 times a week.
4 or 5 times a day.
That
Yeah.
could be very bad. And you're setting that example for your kids too if you have children. So
Yeah.
like the Bible says, talking about when you sit down, rise up. And even the exercise part of that, we need to teach our kids that kind of thing because a lot of them sit in front of the
TV.
games all day and don't get out and move and enjoy nature too. I mean, the outdoors, my goodness. Just step outside for a minute, go look at the sky for a minute and tell me there's not a God.
Right.
Go outside in the fall and see the beautiful leaves or see a beautiful sunset and tell me somebody did not create that.
Sometimes the parents have to take over and
We have
stop
to
them
show-
from doing that and take them out and
We have to
Show
show the
them.
kids
Yeah.
how to do it.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm okay with a little bit of video games every now and then. I'm not what you would call a gamer. I don't have a large interest in it at all. It's okay. I've watched other people play and whatnot. I know that's fun for other people. I don't really see the
draw.
yeah. But
it's more to life than just games.
yeah. Well, I think I grew up in like the last portion of kids that went outside and played. Because we were outside all the time. I mean, pulling worms out of the ground or having mud fights or riding our bikes over questionable ramps that was built with we grab a cinder block from an old church parking lot and throw a piece of wood over that and then pray.
Dear God, please pay my hospital bill when I get done with this. Oh, man. Yeah, I know. I've seen some very sketchy ramps in my day, but
Yeah, I'd much rather see it. It's like my nieces and nephews, when they come by and they hang out here, they know that Uncle Josh doesn't really do video games. And they're disappointed at first until they're having so much fun doing constructive things. Like if it's nice outside, we're probably going to be outside. But if the weather's kind of like it's way too hot or way too cold, we'll build something with Legos or we're doing something constructive, using their brains. Or playing a board game that maybe challenges them a little bit, something that's not on a video screen and sucking away all those brain cells. But then they end up having so much fun. They go home and then the parents, all their parents always ask, "What'd you do to him?" They say yes sir, no sir. They say yes ma'am, no ma'am. Well,
we talked.
yeah. We spent time with them.
We had a conversation.
Yeah.
Weird.
I pull out the belt.
Isn't that sometimes, no. Never the belt. Had to maybe smack a few hands.
They can go get their own Switch.
My
Go
granny
get
did
your own
that.
Switch.
Yeah, my granny did that. I remember the one time I ever got in trouble with her, and I picked a bad branch the first time around.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so I got whopped with that, and then I had to go back out and grab the right
Find
one.
a good one. never had that, but I had to choose my punishment. Got in trouble at my uncle's house. He said, you can do this or this. Choose your poison.
Well, yeah. Well, for me, it was painful bliss because, and the reason I say that is because my brother got in trouble at the same time I did. And you know how siblings go. And so it's just like, I was crying over mine, but then I see him getting hit and I'm going,
I always got beat for everything. It didn't even matter. My older sister, yeah, she would get me in trouble all the time. It was always my fault, so I get beat. I have to go pick out a belt. All right, go on. Go pick it out. I'm like, but this one? Nope, that's not good enough. Go to the other one. This one? Nope. The one that got holes in it is made out of leather and weighs like 25 pounds. That one. Oh, okay, here you go.
well, you don't want the skinny one either. There's zero wind resistance. It's going to, yeah.
You don't want to get like horse bridled either.
Well,
I know with my father, because it was my mom. My mom was always like, "Wait till your dad gets home."
Yeah.
Yep.
But there was only I think 2, maybe 3 times he actually had to spank our bottoms, to straighten us out. But he would always defer to a lecture, and man, that always hurt way worse. I would always almost be begging for a beating because I'd be like, just beat us and let us go. It's been 2 hours.
Taking too long.
It's forever.
60 later. Yeah. It's almost a disappointment in it too, though. Like seeing the disappointment on your parents' face is almost worse than being spanked or whatever. Like, oh, well, okay, whatever. But them saying, "Hey, listen, you hurt me," or you didn't measure up. I don't want to say measure up. That's
It's that famous line, "I'm not mad. I'm just
disappointed."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, that always crushed me. Did you ever get that line, Louis? "I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed."
well, my mother used to play 2 parts, the man and the woman.
Yeah.
First, she came in with the man. That was the belt. Pa, pa, pa. And while I'm crying, she'd be coming over, giving me the woman part. "Oh, I'm sorry. Why did you force me to do this?" That was my mom.
Yeah.
But I hate it when she used to say, "It hurt me more to do that."
Yeah.
It didn't hurt you as much as it hurt me when you was hitting me with that belt.
Yeah. It could be pretty scary, right? But I'd say every time I took for my dad anyway. We were in trouble. we had it coming. Especially the lectures.
Yeah.
We needed those. Those were a lot of structure. And I've I think Alan talked about getting the chance to lecture his kid recently, and he said, "Oh, hey, this is what's all about. You get to, because
A different role.
he remembered his father giving him lectures as well, and he was like, that's what that's about." Yeah.
Yeah, my dad would spank me for sure, and then he would talk to me. So with Serenity, that's my daughter. We did something a little different. Don't really spank her. We started out doing that, and then she's a pretty good kid. So now we have a conversation, and then if it happens again, then she's losing something. Like something's being taken away, whether that's entertainment or something she enjoys or friend time or whatever. That was more effective than spanking her. So
Yeah, everybody has their style, I say. I think taking things away is a good. I think it's a good practice.
Conversation is essential. You have to explain. You can't just be like you're wrong.
You have to teach,
Why?
admonish.
Yeah.
It says that we really miss that part if you just spank your kids and don't ever explain what's wrong and what you need to do and tell them, instruct them. This is what I want. This is what you need to do. This is the right thing right here.
Yeah.
Well, and funnily enough, it's even that way with training a dog. You believe it or not, I know it's like saying it's like comparing humans to dogs, but it's that same kind of practice, like this
Concept. Yeah.
Yeah, because dogs don't know human language, but if you kind of show them, right, you have to give them kind of a
Guidance.
a guidance, and it's consistent. They learn over time. Oh, that's what was wrong. I need to do this to be able to do right. Louis got some experience in dog training as well, and he's been there for his dog Max. He's certified, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got his award for passing the training.
Nice.
Yeah. So, great.
So
His
you
dog's a
can
great
do
dog.
that, yeah. I mean, encouragement and also discipline go hand in hand. You have to do both.
Yeah, certainly. And
And I didn't have to beat them. Just a little, pull up the collar, and you don't have to be mean to them.
Yeah.
Just a little tug and this and that, and they learn. They
Yeah.
learn real fast. And but if you're gonna be mean to the dog and beat him he's gonna become a mean dog, and he's gonna one day sooner or later attack you. So you got to know how to do it and be gentle.
There's a balance to that too. Yeah. And balancing that is, to go back the other way. It's just like with a kid, we have to find that balance of correction, but also the explanation and hopefully they understand, because when they're 2, it's going to be real hard to go, well, eating crayons,
It's not good for you.
Chemical makeup.
No, it's pretty.
you might as well be going mucka, 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 mucka.
It's like Altoids.
It's pretty.
I'm going to throw a microphone at you.
Yeah, it's pretty much a no when they're 2, and that changes as they get older. Then you can do more explanation. But when they're 2, you just have to say no.
The same thing
Yeah.
with scripture,
Don't-
like we were talking about.
Yeah, don't touch the stove. Nope. Don't go on the street. Nope. Don't eat the crayons. Nope. None of that.
I remember when my younger brother was 2, and he's going to hate me telling this story, but it's just so much fun. When he was 2 years old, and talking about the hot stove. So one time he actually started to reach up onto the stove. Now he didn't burn his hand, but my mom, she turned around, she goes, no, that's hot. And he goes, and she goes, yeah, like that. And he just did it again, like puts his hand like kind of towards that direction, like to making sure like that's what she's saying. Like it was his way of processing what she's saying.
Connections.
Yeah. And as he's looking at her, and she goes, yes. So as he got a little bit older, we'd say, James, don't eat that. Why? It's
Got him.
I thought it was so cute. I mean, I'm 4 years older than my brother, so I got to watch some of his development and coming up behind me, and so I thought it was cute. It was one of those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just reminds me, for some reason, of my brother. This is totally off topic, but he had trouble with his R's. So we'd be driving down the highway, and he'd say, "Look at that cow." Cow. He meant to say car. It's cow. Everything like that. That just cracked me up when I was a kid.
There's a lot of young kids that
Have trouble.
Yeah,
and
they start that way.
And, right. Yeah. And I would never do that, now, understanding that it's kind of hurtful
yeah.
to make fun of somebody like that. But he had trouble with it.
But I think if let's put it this way, I think if they're understanding, because we pick at each other all the time, just like Sterling talking about the Altoids, like
Right.
it doesn't hurt me a bit, but it's fun. Yeah, and I think it's just kind of I think it's kind of the way that guys communicate. I know it's different with women, but guys, we tend to we dig deep sometimes. Actually, we can what sounds really hurtful to other people, we're just like, that's funny. I think it's another way of looking at it. But yeah, I think as long as if we talk about somebody's speech or something like that, as long as they're not a Democrat, they'll probably be understanding.
As long as they're okay with it, yeah. As long as they think it's funny too.
Yeah. And they don't get triggered and need their
crowd,
safe space.
yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to trigger somebody, cause them to go in their safe space, and they hold up behind like a little glass wall and right. What's that? I can't hear you. They have to mine behind their fake glass wall. Oh goodness.
I was gonna do a little Three Monkeys, can't hear.
Oh, yeah.
See no evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good time to hop into some articles. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So our first article this week comes from the Post Millennial. It's the CCP announces they will ease COVID restrictions in key cities amid white paper protests. The Chinese city of Guangzhou has begun to ease COVID restrictions that have been in service to the nation's zero COVID policy, announcing the lifting of all lockdowns, reports state-affiliated media outlet Hu Jijin. I may or may not be saying that right. Lifting of COVID restrictions has been called something of a surrender that the CCP is, quote, throwing in the white flag. Quote, Beijing has been gradually lifting lockdowns over the past few days. Hu Jijin further reports Vice Premier Sun Chunlan on Wednesday formally noted the virus's weakening there's a lot of big words this week. Pathogenicity, I think it's how you say it. For the first time, China is speeding up to cast aside large-scale lockdowns. Officials in Zhengzhou, where Apple's Foxconn factory is located, announced an orderly return to business, opening supermarkets, gyms, and restaurants. Woohoo, right? Power to the people. They did it. And hopefully more places start to open up for the Chinese people, because I'm not against the Chinese people. It's just the CCP, the Chinese government that's doing all this to them.
They had protests all over the country. They showed a map and they were showing where all the protests were, and it was literally all over the country.
India is one that's having a big protest, and the president of India is killing protesters that protest. And he's got a big list that he's going to eliminate.
So they're really cracking down in India.
Yeah.
And sometimes that happens.
Yeah. I think at some point, then someone else may need to step in and, I don't know, give them a little bit of a correction and a talking to, right, Sterling?
Yeah. I mean, it's just sad. So just prayers go out to them, obviously.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But these protests, they turned violent in Guangzhou, reports Patrick Folk from Hong Kong for Al Jazeera. The unrest marks the escalation of a movement that spread to several large cities. The latest developments come despite stern warnings against taking part in demonstrations. So even against all the odds, they still went out and said that they were going to protest and they were going to tell people the truth. So power to them. The southwestern city of Chongqing will allow the close contacts of people with COVID-19 who fulfill certain conditions to quarantine at home, Al Jazeera reports. However, they also report that President Xi is unlikely to remove further restrictions as COVID case counts are still reportedly at record levels. It's because of the lockdowns, Xi Jinping. Have you not learned anything? Look at Florida. They're doing just fine. I'm just saying. This comes after the country has seen several days of protest against COVID restrictions and lockdowns. The protests began after a fire in an apartment building in the city of Urumqi, which took the lives of 10 people, including a 3-year-old child.
Which is way far away from Beijing. And so when that happened, it affected the whole country. And I think the communication must have been open a little bit for them to be able to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they were passing things to each other, peer-to-peer devices, and
right.
What had happened with this particular apartment complex? In order to keep them in their apartment complex,
They locked the doors.
They didn't just lock the doors; they welded them in.
I do remember hearing that.
Yeah, and that's what set this all off, because they were welded into their home because they had COVID.
Firemen came to try to rescue them. They couldn't get them out.
And they said, "Oh, it was because of the COVID." Oh, no, it's because you welded the door shut.
Moron.
Hello, McFly, don't be so gullible. Name that movie reference.
It would be funny if it wasn't so sad. Yeah, it's terrible.
Exactly. I mean, these people lost their lives because they were sick, and they wouldn't have otherwise. They would have just been sick for a while and then got better.
Right.
that's how this works.
Risk benefit. That's what I was trying to
Yeah.
think of. You always, when you're talking about medical, think about the risk and the benefit, which is more important. Like when they did lockdowns here in the States with all of the older people, and you couldn't see your family if they had, and they died alone and were not able to be around their family. You know, there's almost nothing more painful than loneliness. And to be dying and to have nobody there, I mean, it's just unbelievably sad and not helpful, because they were going to die. If they were going to die, they were going to die anyway. It did nothing to stop the virus. The virus continued.
Yeah, we're social creatures. We need to be able to interact with each other regardless of what's going on with this virus. It's going to exist. It's going to keep existing potentially. But as it passes through enough people, it's going to get weaker, and it is going to probably fade away.
Then you get natural immunity, or you get herd immunity is
Yeah.
what they call it, with the Great Barrington Declaration, when they talked about that, when all the scientists and the doctors got together and figured out that what was going on was not normal. And so they started checking into it and doing their own research and came out with their recommendations, which were totally different from the CDC.
And it'd be interesting to see if the CDC ever catches up with what real science looks like, right, Louis?
I think they made a little tiny step backwards.
They might have.
I hope they can find what's that doctor's name that was on the TV saying that?
Dr. Fauci?
Fauci. I hope
Saint Fauci. You gotta remember
I
to
hope
call him
they
Saint
catch
Fauci.
him and arrest that poor man, because he lied about that COVID.
Yeah, he lied his butt off about that COVID. You said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Making money right and left
Oh, he made plenty of money.
between the pharmacy companies and the lab. He made a lot of money.
And being on TV.
Yeah. He was the highest paid unelected official.
And he was one of them that probably let it out.
Yeah, he was like, let me just come in and tell you how to live your lives and let people die. And then after I get paid a whole lot of money, I'm just going to quit before I can get called in by the Republican House.
Oh, they're calling him in.
Yeah, and we'll see how that pans out for him. We really will. I think a lot of things are going to happen between now and into next year that may surprise some of you. There are some gears turning. I'm telling you.
Here's hoping.
Speaking of horrible things out there in the world, though, this story comes from the New York Post this week, and I'm not talking about the New York Post. I'm talking about the story that they had to tell us about. There's a fashion company called Balenciaga. If you've never heard of this company before, hopefully you don't have to worry about this company because they need to go away. They're endorsed by a lot of different.
Never heard of them. Completely uninterested now.
Yeah, celebrities like Kim Kardashian and what's her name, Lizzo. Unconsequential people to your life. They should, or at least they should be. But Balenciaga is a fashion designer. They had to pull controversial bear ads amid child abuse fears. Now, I don't know if you had seen any of these photographs. We're not going to show them here on this show because I think that I don't think any children should have to see what they did here. But they put these small children in a bedroom setting. Now I know that usually a child will lay down with a teddy bear. I had a stuffed animal as a small child as well. But they didn't look like this. See, so they said that they're very sorry, but I don't think an apology is good enough. So Balenciaga issued an apology Tuesday for its campaign that shows two young girls posing with teddy bears that appear to be wearing BDSM style harnesses. This is some kind of a sexual fetish. For those who are not familiar with that. The advertisements supported Balenciaga's Spring-Summer 2023 collection, which debuted this fall at Paris Fashion Week. quote, "We sincerely apologize for any offense our holiday campaign may have caused. Our plush bear bags should not have been featured with children in this campaign. We have immediately removed the campaign from all platforms," end quote. The company wrote in a statement posted in their Instagram story. Eagle-eyed online investigators pointed out that one photo seemingly allowed what appeared to be an excerpt from a U.S. Supreme Court case that upheld part of a federal child pornography law. The quote, they said that "we apologize for displaying unsettling documents in our campaign," end quote. The company continued in its statement, quote, "We take this matter very seriously and are taking legal action against the parties responsible for creating the set and including unapproved items for the Spring 23 campaign photo shoot. We strongly condemn abuse of children in any form. We stand for children's safety and well-being," end quote. If you did stand for that, Balenciaga, I just want to say this. You would have been there. You would have had your people on that set going through tooth and comb what exactly is exactly happening on that set and what's going to be approved before it ever hit. It should have never hit public. Furthermore, when you heard child and set, and they were going to take pictures, your antennas should have went up and said, "Nope, that's not happening."
They didn't care.
But they obviously didn't care. Because if they cared, there would have never been children on this photo shoot set. Mm-hmm. Just those two things shouldn't go together.
It sounds to me like they were just sticking their toe in the water kind of thing to see if it would pass or not. That's what it sounds like to me.
They probably thought it was a big story.
Comes to mind.
Grooming is probably a word that would get used, and unfortunately, now it's being overused in the media, and it's going to lose its meaning, just like so many words. And so we're going to call it for what it is. It's straight up pedophilia. And I'll tell you, whoever this was that decided that they were going to go ahead and take a photo shoot of children and put them in there with these obviously
disgusting.
Yeah. Suggestive teddy bears. They're more than likely they are probably straight up a pedophile, and my book should be hung in the town square. That's exactly how I feel about it.
Arrested,
prosecuted, sick, and perverted.
Because they need to understand that this cannot happen.
This will not fly.
Yeah. They try to soften it. They say, "Oh well, they're a minor attracted person." That's what they say. They call them a MAP now, the minor attracted person, because they want to soften pedophile. No. If you're out there trying to touch on little children and do things with little children and sexualize little children,
it's called stealing their innocence, and it will not fly. The mama bears will be out to get you, and you'll be done.
You heard it here, mama bears.
Well, and it won't even fly in the prison system. A lot of times, when I mean, as you're talking about murderers and guys that do awful,
and they
awful
have
things,
a code too.
And they say, "Well, you touched on a little child." Well, that was a little child. That's different than being going after an adult, because adult can be one-on-one. Adult can fight back. Little child can't, and so a lot of times you'll find out that pedophiles get murdered in prison. And I highly recommend that this person, whoever took this photo shoot, should likely go to prison, and anybody involved. It didn't say, let's stop this.
So don't those usually go through like a chain of command?
Supposed to.
Filter /
See, you guys are really hitting the nail on that, because when I first heard the apology, I was like, oh, maybe they didn't know. But if you know the process and you know it's not supposed to be like that, then I see where they're definitely responsible. Yeah.
And we have a chain here when we're editing each other's stuff, when we're working through our programs here. We're going to ask each other like, hey, because they're sometimes, Alan will throw one of his little memes at me and he'll go, "Do you think I could post this?" And I'll go, maybe that one, well, it could probably fly. And then I do the same thing with him. I'm like, do you think that this one will work? And he'll go, "Well, it's a little edgy, but yeah, let's do that one." So we do have a little bit of a filter, like there's, okay, would this be okay to post? We have that cross-reference.
So you would think with a big company like that they would have somebody that's
a lot more checks and balances
that they would check that with.
Yeah.
So can we do this for this photo shoot?
I almost feel like the first thing that comes to mind when you were talking about it was with that parade thing that happened. And I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that or not, but the parade thing that happened with the kids and the dog, people in the dog car.
Yeah.
Like that was
weird.
immediately like, oh,
creepy,
that was
yeah.
okay. Let's see if this is okay. And they're just going to keep taking the
Slippery
steps
slope.
further and further and further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like it goes back into these. They say family. This is for you. Family friendly drag shows. So it's grown men,
Oxymoron.
right, dressed as women,
Excuse me.
dancing for small children
Sexually.
sexually, and accepting what you would only see in a gentleman's club or like Chippendales or something like that, and the little children are giving them money for these shows, and they're happening all over. And they say, well, there's nothing wrong with it because it's family friendly. What's family friendly about it?
Just another term that they're trying to change and abuse.
Right. There you go. The counterfeit.
Okay, talking about that, look at Hollywood. They went from the agenda of family to now they have sex, men having other men kissing on the show, women's having sex with each other, nudity. What happened?
Violence, hatred.
Yes.
So much hate, yeah.
There's a lot of suggestiveness with the we're talking about with the children in particular.
Well, it's like what sells, right? That's what I hear a lot is what sells and what is in, as far as agenda and stuff like
Trending.
that. Trending, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's another way of corrupting kids when they watch that, That messes up their mind because they watch that and they figure, oh, that's the way it's got to be.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Right.
You see these programs that, like Disney Plus is a big proponent of that, or Nickelodeon. They're like that too. Where I don't know if you've ever seen those shows. I remember sitting back with a couple of my nieces one time, and they were watching what would seemingly be an innocent show. You see all the Hannah Montana stuff. You've seen this stuff, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she would when she was on stage, she was Hannah Montana, and at home she was not. And she'd take off the wig or whatever. But all the kids were the smartest people in the room, and the parents were bumbling idiots. That might seem kind of and funny from an aesthetic standpoint, but then you think about it and you're like, wait a minute. Kids are learning that parents are stupid and shouldn't be trusted. Right? That they're the smartest ones in the room all the time.
Hidden.
Yeah, I'm going to have to hit one of my favorite shows, Home Improvement, but they made him look like an idiot all the time. The father.
He did always seem to kind of
it was hilarious, but at
bring
the
everybody
same
together.
time, yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of TV shows were like that. That actually they would always do that with the father in particular.
Yeah, the male figure.
The male figure is always the dumbest character, big bumbling fool.
But he loved hard.
You love what?
He loved hard. Like he took care of his family.
Yeah, he did. He
That
did
was
take
his
care of his family. I mean, so did Al Bundy. But he,
There was some redeeming qualities
Yeah, there was.
to that.
I mean, it's like
yeah,
that undertone.
right.
Like, yeah, the love part, but he's always not intelligent or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, like so did Al Bundy, as fallible of a man as he was, but he did love he loved his family. Yeah. Anytime somebody went after his daughter,
Love and Mary.
Yeah.
Oh my
he'd deal a pounding to him.
It's kind of sad. I mean, anytime Serenity said she wants to watch something or whatever, we have to watch it with her most of the time or preview it beforehand. Because there'll be times I'll be watching something with her and something will happen, and she'll go, "Well, what was that? Like, what's that about?" I'm like, "Well, all right." So then I have to explain things before I as a parent would say it is time to have to explain that.
Yeah.
That kind of takes, that's taking it out of my hands or whatever, and I don't appreciate that.
Yeah, and it only gets worse.
My parents used to turn it off. Like we'd be watching a show like that and something would come on and they'd be like, click, turn the TV off, go do something else.
Yeah.
We're done.
The thing that they're trying to perpetuate the most in Hollywood, and that thank you for bringing that point up, Louis, with Hollywood in particular, is exactly what's happening with what Balenciaga thought they could get away with.
Yeah.
Is pedophilia and sexualizing children constantly. They're trying to sexualize children. I watched a little bit of a TV show with one of my younger nieces. She's 13 now, but it was a pair of girls that hung out and everything. And I thought, what are these kids wearing? They need to be where are your parents?
Where you close it.
And why did they not tell you to put on more clothes? Like, you need clothes on.
Yeah.
And they're just going out there with showing their midriffs, and these are not 20-year-old women. These are
13.
Yeah, 13 years old. And I had to walk away. I couldn't I couldn't hang out.
Did you see that show, Naked News? While they undress, while they're telling the news, and that when they finish talking, and they talk about the news,
Straight into the toilet.
And they just taking clothes off while they're telling the news. That was on cinema, Naked News.
It's like international television. They have it.
It's going
Yeah,
straight into the toilet. Yeah.
And if we, the people, don't say nothing about it, the parents, they're
Turn
just
it
going to
off.
get worse.
Turn it off.
Well,
Turn it off.
and not only that, but speak up, and start up with alternative media.
And on the other side of that, to be fair, there has been like a little spring of Christian media, gaining popularity and strength, because really Hollywood is literally going in the toilet. So you've got these things like Facing the Giants and Courageous and God's Not Dead, good, wholesome Christian movies. And there's a whole thing now. There's a Pure Flix to compete with Netflix.
Right.
So there's, and then you have choices. And that's the great thing about America, because we can do that.
Yeah, I think we should even go another step further, like just creating so much content out there that's wholesome, like just like stuff with this, like this. It's a family show, right? We can have the kiddos in front of the TV with mom and dad while they're watching this show, and I would encourage that. There needs to be more shows out there, more content out there that people can, if they're going to be watching a screen, preferably they're going to be soaking up something that's not going to hurt them spiritually or mentally, or fall right into what I would call a psyop trap that most television is, because there's a little thing called, I think it's called Operation Mockingbird. Yeah, there might be a 3-letter agency that's involved with that. So just make sure you go down that rabbit hole if you can, and
ABCs. Yeah,
and do your own research. Don't take my word for it. And you might even go over to Twitter to find some of your news. So coming from the Washington Examiner this week, former Twitter safety chief concedes censoring Hunter Biden's laptop story was a mistake. Finally.
Right.
Took you long enough. Oh, yeah, only way after the election. Twitter's former head of trust and safety joined others associated with the company who have zinged the censorship of Hunter Biden's laptop story as a mistake. Yoel Roth, who stepped down from the post amid Elon Musk's ascension to chief twit, as he calls himself, despite initially being embraced by the new leader, stressed that big tech was on edge over foreign election interference campaigns, and emphasized the decision to suppress but not remove the laptop story was not his. Of course it wasn't his, even though he was there and could have said something at any point in time well before now, right? Quote, "We didn't know," sure you didn't, "what to believe. We didn't know what was true. There was smoke, and ultimately for me, it didn't reach a place where I was comfortable removing this content from Twitter. But you did it anyway." Roth explained during this during an interview with reporter Kara Swisher at a Knight Foundation conference. Despite his misgivings over pulling the plug on the story, he said he understood why others had concerns about it. But you still pulled it. He continues, he says, "It set off every single one of my finely tuned Apartment 28 hack and leak campaign alarm bells." Well, then why'd you pull it? But so it was a mistake, he says. Swisher asks, so was it a mistake? And he said, in my opinion, yes. Well, if you said yes, if your opinion was yes, that it was a mistake, why did you pull it? Twitter ultimately moved to block a sharing of an October 2020 New York Post story outlining information from Hunter Biden's laptop.
I remember that too, because it was on for like 2 seconds and then it was gone.
It also temporarily froze the New York Post's Twitter account before reversing course. Facebook briefly implemented similar measures to curb the spread of the story. You know why they were afraid of the story? The story is because it was true.
Mm-hmm.
And when they went out and polled Democrat voters, would you have, if you, knowing this information, would you, and they're not even talking about what was on the laptop, just the fact that there was corruption on the laptop. If you had known about this laptop prior to the election, would you have changed your vote? 17% said yes.
Ding, ding, ding.
Right?
17%.
We're not talking about moderates. We're not talking about, independents or anything like that. We're talking about Democrats. Hardcore Democrats said 17%. That would have easily turned over the election to Donald Trump. Easily. It just takes 17% of that vote, because they would have switched right over to voting for Donald Trump if they knew this information. So that being said, do you think that Twitter, I want you to comment. I want you to get into part of this conversation. Do you think that Twitter and Facebook were interfering in our elections by doing this?
Yes, they were.
Absolutely 100%.
Yeah, I mean, media controls everything. That's where most people get all their information from anyway. So,
and with Gen Z, they're getting it from TikTok, right? Mm-hmm. They're watching these little 6-second videos and they're going, "Oh, well, I guess this is what they're doing out in the world." Before that, I guess it was a little bit of Snapchat. Yeah, they were into that.
And they did say they were talking about on one of the news shows today, and they were saying that a lot of those little cute videos were pitting us against each other and actually influencing people to fight with each other in order to get the outcome that they wanted in the election here.
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a little sliver by little sliver.
And so everybody thinks they're really just cute. I mean, they had a lot of cute stuff out there. I remember during the campaign and everything, every other video was TikTok. And, some of it was really funny. But, when you think about it, they did that on purpose so that they could just, like you said, a little bit at a time, change your mind and get you to mistrust someone maybe, or you to question something maybe and say, no, I don't want to do that, or no, I really don't want to vote for Trump, or whatever. Yeah. No, I don't really want to talk to my neighbor because they really ticked me off because of that meme or whatever. I mean, just little things causing division like that.
So it's I can't remember how the saying goes. Is it like, let not the right hand know what the left hand is doing? Is it something to that effect?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what it is that it was all about the distraction, right, Louis?
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of the politicians were using that as Trump was prejudiced. He was KKK. And just to put him down so people wouldn't vote for him. But did you know that the Democrats were the first ones that started slavery? They were the first ones that were starting, that started to have slaves. And
if you don't know your history, you won't know that.
Yes.
Yeah, they started the KKK as well.
And yeah, I was going to come to that. Yep. They were the ones, yes.
Yeah, and they did, if I recall correctly, they did Jim Crow laws. That was them too.
Mm-hmm. It's like they see society as an ice sculpture. Right. They just slowly chip it away until they form what they want.
Yeah, they're communist statue, right?
Yep. So they form you into what they want you to be.
You know who the first Republican president was? Do you know who the first Republican?
Was it Abraham Lincoln?
It sure was.
Yeah.
Woo, woo.
So if you can hear my voice, the first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, what did he do, Louis? What did he do?
He freed the slaves.
Yes, he did. He sure did.
Ding, ding,
and
ding.
With every fiber of his being, too. Mm-hmm. You know, with every fiber of his being, and fought the bloodiest war that this country's ever seen to make that happen. So the next time you want to talk about Republicans in a bad way or say that we're racist, that's absolutely not the truth. We just want everybody to live on their own merit. We want you to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and work hard, just like the rest of us, because we're all out here trying to make it. And certainly we can work together to do that. But if I work harder, I should probably get a bigger slice of pie at the end of the day. I just the way I see it.
And we also had the first black Republican years back.
I remember seeing that somewhere.
Yes, we did have a black Republican.
It was in Congress, right?
Yes.
We'll have to research that so we can talk about that next week. Because I would like to make sure that maybe we can do a little profile on that individual, because that would be fantastic. Make sure we highlight it. Our last article we got from the Daily Mail this week. I know that the clock looks different this week, Sterling, but due to I see you looking at it, we actually have a little more time than what that says. So, coming from the Daily
fast. Just kidding.
Coming from the Daily Mail this week, Biden's non-binary. This is a mouthful. Biden's non-binary nuclear waste guru used Vera Bradley bag for a month after stealing it from airport and unpacking female victims' clothes. But this is still part of the headline. Claims it was an accident. Keeps job despite being charged as White House says nothing. That's the entire headline right there.
That's the headline?
That's the headline.
My head hurts.
Right?
Okay.
That's why
somebody did not learn how to do headlines.
But,
in my opinion.
Would you have understood it any other way, right? That's a lot to explain, or try to get you to understand.
I wrote a book, jeez.
So a non-binary drag queen working in a senior position, mind you, a senior position in Joe Biden's Department of Energy, has admitted to stealing a suitcase from a baggage carousel and using it for their personal travel over the course of a month. At first, Sam Brinton, Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Office of Spent Fuel and Waste Disposition, that title's a mouthful too, it sounds made up,
Probably is.
told police we have to refer to them as they, I guess, because that's how they see themselves, accidentally took the suitcase with contents worth $2,325. You didn't accidentally take $2,300 worth of stuff. You just took it, buddy. From Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport on September 16th around 4:45. Brenton was not traveling with a checked bag when they arrived in Minnesota and picked up the Vera Bradley 26-inch navy blue hard-sided roller bag worth $295. However, he finally came clean and admitted to taking the bag, although blamed tiredness for the mistake. Brenton has been charged with a felony theft and is on leave from the job in the Department of Energy. A hearing is scheduled in the case on December 19th.
And you're fired.
Why is he not fired?
Answer, yeah.
Why is he not fired?
That's number one.
Joseph Robinette Biden, I'm calling you out. Hear my words. Why is he not fired? Why are they? I don't know how the pronoun game has got me so confused. Quit changing the rules.
The rules are simple.
He or she, right?
The rules are there are no rules.
Yeah.
The rules are no longer simple.
This person, this bald-headed person who looks like a man but wears a dress and makeup, stole stuff, works for the government, and still has a job.
Whose stuff was it? Did they even figure out whose it was? It doesn't say.
Doesn't say.
Why are they not outraged? That's what I mean.
I would be all over it.
Where's my
But
bag?
maybe they were just like,
someone took my bag.
like, oh, I voted for non-binary. What's it?
They can have it then, I guess.
I don't know what to call them anymore. I'm confused, man.
It's
The bag
exhausting.
stealer. This bag stealer.
This bag stealer, yeah, because it changes every day. It literally changes and actually from moment to moment.
That's Yeah.
It's
That's
like
it's almost intentional, right?
it's like they hide everything. If they don't want the news to know it, they hush hush.
No, I mean,
Was that a Hitler
you would
stash?
never, I mean, maybe 10 years ago or less, maybe 5 years ago, you would see something like this and think that's a fake story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Just a
Because
few
it's
years ago,
so-
we would have laughed at this story, right?
Right.
It would have been satirical,
Right,
funny.
exactly.
But now,
Not so much.
Justice would have probably happened.
yeah.
Right.
And then they would have been fired.
Okay, oh, interesting. Okay.
Well, they never would have got the
have
job.
never been hired.
They never been hired in the first place because they've been like, you're a
you
crazy
have
person.
serious issues. We are not hiring you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Hold out your arms. Why? We're fitting you for a straitjacket. That's what we're doing right now. We're fitting because
That's the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, okay, are we going to go into that because the transgender people and the doctors have talked about how damaging that is to your mental health and people who have done this and regretted it and or have done this and continue to have depression and so forth because it doesn't fix the problem.
it doesn't. So pre-transition is 47% when they decide that they're
Something
going to
else.
go trans and start putting the opposite sex's clothes on. 47% commit suicide.
Yeah.
That's a hard fact.
Almost half.
That number doesn't get any better post-transition. It actually gets worse. Now, be it a fraction of a percentage, it's about half of a percentage, but the number goes up. They're regretting it more once they've made these cuts to their body.
Life-altering decision.
Yeah, and now they want children to do these decisions, that make these decisions too. No, and
Need to listen to the smart doctors, the ones that are telling the truth.
yeah,
They need to go back a
how
few
about-
years.
How about listen to the great physician?
Oh,
yeah.
right?
Mic drop.
You were born a certain way, physically. Just live with that.
Deal with it.
Yeah, if
God
there's-
knows
if-
what he's
if-
doing.
If there's confusion, you can find help. I mean, there's
Yeah, go to
It's
counseling.
not like if it's something that's. I mean,
A lot of kids
All I
have
can speak is from-
confusion
yeah.
about. I was going to say so many things.
no. I mean, I've been confused. I mean, I'll be honest about it. I've been confused growing up there. I mean, the stuff that's thrown in your face as a child, even it's worse now. I can't even imagine, which is why I'm worried about Serenity. But I was confused. I was like, well, maybe I can't get a girlfriend, so maybe it is this, or maybe it is that. It's so easy to manipulate the mind of an individual who doesn't have a basis to stand on.
Yeah.
This is the way I see things.
Mhm.
You have a lot of gender people in the politics,
Yeah.
going into the White House, going into movie theaters, and they're changing rules.
Exactly.
Their ways.
Yeah, that's why
And
they
that's
hired.
why we're having all these problems.
That's why they were hired to push their agenda.
Mm-hmm.
But they're delusional. And I'm not being. If I'm gonna.
You're being serious.
Yeah.
That's not a satire.
It's not a satire. They are absolutely delusional, and I'm not going to be part of it. If you look like a sir, I'm going to call you a sir. If you look like a ma'am, I'm going to call you ma'am. Now, if you ask me to call you whatever, I'll call you whatever. I'll call you who's it or what's it or whatever you want to be called if you ask, because I'll be respectful that way because you're a fellow human being if you ask. Now, obviously, I'm not going to call you things that are stupid like glitter princess. I'm just not going to call you it. Now, if you're a niece or nephew, then that's what they want to be called. You know, that's fine because they're
That's
a little kid.
a whole nother
Well, it's
thing.
gotta
Right?
go, it's gotta go both
But
ways.
if they're an adult, I'm not living in your delusion, man. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not part of it, and I'm not going to contribute to it. You need help. You need help, and you're not going to get it from some gender affirming doctor. That's not the help. The help that you need is to understand
how God created you.
God created you and
Right.
deal with the body that you have. You don't need to alter it. You don't need to change it. He knew what he was doing. He gave you it for a reason.
And you can't change the DNA, which is where all that information is. If you understand anything about science or medical, that's where it all is. Everything, your chromosomes, when they first join together, all the information, everything about you is there already, and it doesn't change your entire life no matter how much cutting you do. And that's why it's such a big problem when you start doing that and you're really not changed because
Right.
you are still you.
Yeah,
and now we're having them in the military. What is she, a general? That gender guy?
so it's our first female 4-star admiral.
4-star. Now they get into the military. How are they going to change
Just
Leadership.
handed over, right? It wasn't earned. It was handed over. Once again, I believe that these people are delusional. And then they're breaking the law on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Stop breaking the law. Okay.
Yeah, and they're going to add that to the problems they're already having with the vaccine mandate and the,
It's just
not honoring the religious exemption and people not signing up for the military because they don't want to be part of it right now because they're not focused on the right thing. What is the military for? To protect the country. And what are they focused on? Your gender, your vaccine status.
focused on the wrong things. They need to focus on God.
What other country's going to think
Right.
about our military?
God first.
Oh, they're all gay. Don't worry. We could take care of them.
Well, I think a regular gay soldier is probably going to do a whole lot better than a transgender soldier. I firmly believe that. I think if I was in the army, and I would much rather stand shoulder to shoulder with a gay soldier than a transgender soldier, because I don't want him out there running around in high heels trying to to gun down the bad guys.
It's a possibility.
It's not going to do me any good, But a gay guy, he's still going to strap up in the boots and he's still going to hold the gun just like I will. So AR-15 or M16 or whatever they issue you. I see Austin over there doing his little jog in the producer's booth. Anyway, I think we need to close this out with some prayer.
A lot of prayer. We're not leaving.
How many hours do you have? You want me to pray?
Yes, please. If
Oh
you
my
wouldn't mind.
goodness. Okay. We covered a lot tonight, Lord, and you've heard our thoughts. You've heard our words, Lord, and I pray that, I pray for our country. We're in a disaster right now. We really, really need your help. And there are people that don't know you, that are causing confusion and being confused. And some won't listen, but some will. And I pray for the ones that will, that they'll do it today. In Jesus' holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So that prayer was brought to you by Miss Yvonne Metcalf. I got it right this time. Yes. I think I'm just going to leave that other snippet in just because I got to apologize for the first time on the show.
He's human after all.
Yeah, we make mistakes. Right, Sterling?
Yeah, right. We all make mistakes. Yeah. This guy. Big mistake.
So, yeah, next to her, and the man I was just talking to there, it was Sterling Metcalf Allen. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Absolutely.
Across from him, the host of Rodriguez Rants, Louis Rodriguez.
I did it.
He got it. He pressed the button on time. Congratulations, Austin. You've earned adulation for 3 seconds.
We may reconsider your application.
And I've been your host this week, reminding you to do the right thing and
Own research.
do your own research. Hold steadfast. I'm Joshua Cummins. We'll see you next week.
Bye.